All right, so my name is Peter Ashley. I work for a company called Applied Information, and we've been working with the state for 5-6 years, deploying remote communications and connected vehicles for the state. So there's a large project's been going on, putting out all the ATC cabinets, and then it includes obviously all the remote communications and the connected vehicle solution. What happened was we deployed the first system, and we came back and we said, okay, well, what's next? What do we want to show off? How do we want to make it more usable for everybody out there? So there were a lot of new things that we all thought of, and this is obviously a multi-year thing, working with Maine DOT and figuring out what are the next feature set that we want to create. So what I'm really going to go over is not just what the MaineLINK system does, but more on all of the new features and things like that that have been built up. While you're hearing this, one of the things we want to do is we want to give more people access. So, depending on what cities the equipment's being deployed in, you can utilize the system and see different things. So I'm going to show you kind of ideas of what you can do with the system, but at the same time, also just think about it, if these are some of the signals that you guys have access to, request access from the DOT so that you can actually go in and utilize this as well, because it's a great tool set. So this is the little box that goes in the traffic cabinet. This is the field monitoring unit. It is capable of monitoring all sorts of things within the cabinet that generally aren't monitored, like the AC voltage, preemption status, time synchronization. If you got a UPS or battery backup, it can monitor those things. So all of the stuff within the cabinet that you want to make sure is actually working, and often from a traffic controller side, it's not really looking at that. So this FMU unit is able to report all of that back, but also provide information when there is a failure. So it has a little battery in there, so it can report back that there is a failure. So for instance, when there's a power failure, there's not much we can do in the traffic industry. We've got to call the utility company to come out and fix that. But if someone from the public phones up and says, hey, the traffic signal isn't working, we send someone out there, and lo and behold, the signal's dark, there's not much you can do, you've got to call the utility company to come and fix that. So this gives you that kind of level of information before you head out to the traffic signal. This is a view, and I'm going to jump into the live system as well, of what's deployed at the moment within the state of Maine. There's about, I think it was 500 different devices deployed in the state of Maine. We've also deployed a whole bus priority system down in Portland, and fully deployed in a number of different places. So I'm going to show you kind of what some of these new things are within. So this is in, and forgive me because I have very, very bright green on here because I'm colorblind. So we implemented a colorblind setting so I can actually see the difference between green and red. So that's why it's very, very bright green. But what it does is it shows you the status of every single traffic signal. And you can see what signals are yellow, what signals are green from a zoomed out view. So this is one of the new things that was built in, so you can see all of this in real time. And if we go in and zoom in a little closer, it's going to show you a lot more information. Some of this information is too much for some people. Some of it people are going, ooh, this is really interesting. So what it's going to do is it's going to tell you the timers in terms of when the traffic signals are going to change. But then now what we've done is we've created a circle here in the middle, which is providing the cycle time. So it's got the total cycle time of 120 seconds. It's got your offset, and it's got what plan number it's running currently. What is good with that is you can end up finding out whether or not something isn't quite set up correctly on a corridor or a couple of signals next to each other. It just shines a spotlight. You can also see exactly on the satellite view where all of the information of the stop line is actually programmed in here. And this actually, all of these arrows and things like that lines up with what Karen's going to be talking about next, which is the TravelSafely app. So all of these maps are created so that the mobile app can work as well. So when you're looking at all of this, this allows you to see what's happening on that side. Now there's a new view, and I'll show you in a second, once I go through the slides here, how to access it, under the views, where you can actually look at an arterial. So you can create an arterial. So if you're looking at, hey, I manage 2 major arterials through my city, and there's 5 or 6 signals, I want to look at that every single morning. So what you can do is you can actually look at it and you can see whether or not everything's running the same cycle time. So for me, what I would do here is I would look at this and I'd go, okay, well, we're running 110-second cycle time. All right, 110, 55. Well, actually, that's not a problem because often this is a smaller signal over here and they've got it on a much shorter cycle time, and it's exactly half of the main cycle time, which is great. But as I come further along, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing offset 85, offset 50. I come down to this one, I see offset 0. I come down to the next one, I see offset 0. And I did verify this, went into the Conlight controller, and it looks like we didn't program in offsets on these two. So what's going to happen then is obviously the timing and the synchronization of those lights is never going to work as well because it doesn't have offset in there. So these are the sort of basics that we can shine a spotlight on with these type of solutions. Now this is showing these numbers over here are the local cycle time. So local cycle time is always going to change. What we can do as well is put in the master cycle time. So you can see, whether or not all of the different signals are synchronized with each other, time synchronized. And you can see obviously this one over here is running half a cycle time. Now what we did as well as part of this is also create a time-space diagram. So this is that same corridor, and the idea behind this is to try to see if we can figure out, is there a nice green band going through this corridor. So this is actually showing you the start of a green, and that's driving 60 miles an hour. And this is the end of the green going down here, and that speed is at 58 miles an hour. So it's a fast speed. And we won't make the slope go any faster than 60 miles an hour because we don't want people to drive faster than that. So you can also see here that that little section of green there is a wasted green because somebody can't drive at 100 miles an hour from one signal to the next signal. So all of this is going to provide another level of information that you can really look at it and find out, hey, there's a nice green band going through there. Okay, great, we can see that. And as this is live real time. So what we're trying to do is give a real time system. So when you make changes to timing plans, you can go look at it later and go, well, actually that's working without having to stand on the side of the street and look at it. Because this is taking all of the connected vehicle information that we're grabbing from the traffic signal controllers and just visualizing it in a nice way that you can actually come out and say, yeah, this is working the way that we wanted it to work. So these are primarily all the new major features that we've added in over the last year to provide sort of that additional level of information that you can utilize, in managing small cities. We've also added in video, so a video dashboard. We're still working on some of the cameras, getting them online, but you can grab different cameras and you can visualize it and bring up all the camera feeds on kind of like a video wall type of setting. Now, this is some of the playback. This is mainly, I'll go jump into a live system for this to show some of the things that we're doing with the bus priority in Portland. This is one of the things that I always like to highlight, but I'm going to jump into a live system and show you what we're talking about. Is we've integrated to all the different controller types. So when you do see a problem, you can jump in and you can make a change on the controller itself as if you're standing in front of it. And you can do that from your computer, your laptop, tablet, whatever it is. And we work with all the different types of controllers. So, whichever controller you have, so you sometimes might have multiple different types of controllers. So this works all the way from, I think we have it running on some like 980 controllers as well. And obviously, so you can access all of the different types of controllers. Let me jump into the live system and show some things. So we've got obviously Google Maps here. I've got to make sure that I've got my... So what you can do now is as you zoom in, there's not all that level of information. If you have a look here, there's this little traffic icon in the bottom right-hand corner. This is the new feature. When you click on that, all of the live traffic information comes on. And what we try to do is we don't show red on this zoomed out view because it would be too cluttered. We just show yellows and greens. So you can see whether or not, a particular corridor is timed. So, but if we zoom in further, you get the next level of information. So now this is, giving you a far more information here. And you can turn on satellite view and you can see exactly, and this is the local cycle time here. And what we did was we enabled it so that you could actually change how you would want to see whether or not this signal and that signal are synchronized with each other. So that's running 103 and it's 105. We can go in here and we can go to settings and we can change if you want to have master cycle time versus local cycle time. If you see an issue with a particular intersection, if you click on the intersection and you click more details, this is where you can now get access to the controller, whether or not you want to go to the front panel. So if I click on that, now I'm going to go to the front panel. And this is only for people that have access to these features. Just not everyone has access to being able to go into a front panel interface to make changes. So you've got to get the correct permission so that you can get access to getting this. And this is running an adaptive COS plan on this particular signal, but you got access to all of the different menu structures, status screens, whatever you want to access. And you've got to know what you're doing here because you can, so don't fiddle with this if you do get access. But we're not only providing access to the traffic controller, we also have the Wavetronics on this particular intersection, and this intersection is also running GridSmart. So here, and I don't know how to use this, so you'd have to ask somebody else from Wavetronics, but this is now using their application over here to make changes and so on. And in the same way, you've also got access to the GridSmart application. So now it's going to open up the GridSmart application. So all of these different, and what I like about this is if I go to another signal that's running Unix's controller or Trafficware, whatever it is, it's just going to open that up. So all of that's pre-configured for that particular traffic controller. So you don't have to remember that it's a Unix traffic signal controller running in the signal if you've got multiple different types. So whatever you have here, and we also have the ability if you've got battery backups. So just as you're going through, if you come up with something that you see that's not in this traffic controller, let us know because we can add that in. Let's say it is an alpha battery backup or whatever it is and you want to get access to it. We have the ability of doing a hyperlink for that as well. So that's some of the basics behind some of these features that we have here. Some of the other new things that I really like behind this is what we're looking at now is we can see the cycle length, we can see the coordination offset, and this is one of those signals that I said the coordination offset on this signal is 0. Now that could be intentional, but the next signal down is also 0. So it's probably just been missed. And so that's something that actually needs to be changed on that particular signal. You can also see here, and this is shown quite a big spotlight. Most people don't track this, but cycles in transition, this signal doesn't have a problem, but when you're in the downtown areas, what we found is there's a lot of signals that have, and I've got to get this right, a split bust. I'm looking at Joe because Joe taught me the terminology. So what happens is if you've got a pedestrian walk and your split isn't long enough, what happens is the traffic controller goes into transition. And we've got some traffic signals that go into transition 250 times in a day. And then obviously that's throwing out coordination. So having the ability of seeing how many times the traffic signal controller is in transition provides a spotlight that you can go, all right, if it's going into transition 250 times, and we worked with actually VHB on a project in Connecticut where that was literally happening, and it improved the traffic significantly because we added an extra 5 seconds onto the split, and all of a sudden the traffic controller is not going into transition all the time. So it's not often, it's not the case of this, perfect timing and all the rest. It's the basics. It's really the basics that we're trying to shine a spotlight on, just to basically say there's small little things that we can do that actually have a major improvement. So we're just trying to shine that kind of spotlight on these type of things. So all of that is also on the side of the graph over here. So you'll be able to see cycles in transition, for instance. So you can see exactly how many times it goes into transition in a row. But this one, it doesn't actually have a major issue. I'll find another one a little later that has bigger issues. But you can also see that it's running in coordination. You can see that it's all good. And what I like to do here is when I go back to this home screen, and I'm trying to show you guys how I use it on a daily basis so that you can look at this and go in and say, okay, well, in my city, this is the way I'm going to utilize it. And these are some of the things that I could jump in and look at. So if I'm going into Augusta and I like to turn on the traffic layer, and we zoom in here, you see how this signal over here, and this is intentional. So this is intentional, but you'll see a little gray ring around this one, and then there's a white ring around this one. And then gray, gray, white. So what that means is you can actually go in here and you can go to the settings. And I'm just going to show you what this means. So I don't know how big this is, but so if the ring in here is blue, it means the traffic controller is in preempt or priority. If it's gray, it means it's in coordination. That's kind of what you want. If it's in yellow, it means it's in transition. If it's white, it means it's running in free operation. So a lot of cities, you run your traffic controllers in free in the evening. And so everything would change as you're looking at it. But I can see straight away that this one right next to the freeway over here is running in free just based on demand, which is intentional on how they're doing it. And these are all running coordination as you're coming down this Highway 202. So it gives you a quick way of looking, because we have found in different cities and things like that, you've got to put a whole plan together on what times you run what plan number, or if you're running in free, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. running plan number 1, and then I'm running plan number 2, and at 7 o'clock in the evening I go into free. Some of the times what we've seen is we've just clicked on the wrong button and it's running in free at the wrong time of the day. So this just shines a quick spotlight that you can see if that's intentional or not. Maybe it isn't intentional. I'm just guessing it's intentional. So these are the kinds of things that you can really go in and look at and figure out, does this make sense on how all of these are programmed here? So you can see these signals here on the other side of the river are running in free. And that probably very much is intentional. So there's a lot of information here that you can access and look at that kind of level of information. Let me just go close here. I was looking at the statistics. This was me looking at the statistics in terms of their 560 devices deployed, 469 intersections, 43 OBUs, 45 buses, 1 pedestrian crosswalk, and that's 560 in the state of Maine. So if I go in here, let me close this window. Under the tools here, we've also created something called Glance Cloud. And this is capable of running all of the thick client applications. So GridSmart, Expanse, SSM, I don't know what that is, but somebody else probably does. And then we've also added in just recently the ability of running the, let me see if I double click on this, if it opens up here. The Cubic TrafficWare software as well. So City of Portland's got a number of signals that are on the TrafficWare software. This is me trying to open up something that I haven't tested. There we go. So if you type in, so this is now running a thick client software on a web browser. So now in the City of Portland, if you have the username and password, you can go in and you can access directly the ATMS.now software and make your changes. I don't know how to use that, so it's not. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just showing you that those abilities exist. Any of the software systems you can access straight through this, anything from a web browser. So this also allows you to go into the GridSmart software and make changes. So for instance, if you see that you got to adjust the zone, you can do the adjusting of the zones. You don't physically have to go out and plug into that particular device. So those are some of the new things. There's also, let me go in here and jump into view and go open up time space in a second. And then I'm going to go down and just zoom out, because one of the things that no one saw in the previous year was all of the buses running around. So this is in the Portland area where we've got all the bus priority. So you can see the actual buses with a little bubble above it showing that it's running at 19 miles an hour running through the signal here, making a turn, coming down this way. And these are running, you can see some of the devices we have don't have the little circles in the middle, because these are running some older TrafficWare controllers that don't have the Ethernet capability. So we don't get the cycle time and that kind of information on those yet until those get upgraded to the Commander controllers. So this is just a bit of a background. I didn't want to go into too much. What I wanted to do was just open it up to everybody who had any kind of questions, any specifics that we could jump into. Yes, sir.
You're retrieving the data from the controllers, like program cycle time, offset time, all that through MTCIP, I assume?
Yes.
Cool. Have you incorporated any proprietary MIBs, or just you just use Lola too?
Yeah. Every you hear the deep sigh.
We preach interoperability, so if you need MIBs or anything, let's talk.
Yeah. So we've got all the MIBs. We've had to work. What we did was we built a lab in Atlanta, and we've got all the different traffic controllers there. Every single traffic controller works slightly differently. So even the local cycle times. So Econolight's controller counts down. TrafficWare's controller counts up. And so there's a lot of different nuances that we've got to build into our system to try and make it all look the same. Each one of them, there are custom objects on some of the places. Majority of these objects that we're looking at here are the standard NTCIP objects, but we've also, integrated to ecom, the Unix ecom. So we actually can do all of these same features with ecom as well, because we've got a number of cities that run that. So it does get a lot more complicated. So what you do is when we set it up, we just choose what type of controller it is. And when we know what type of controller it is and because an Econolight ASC3 works differently to the Econolight EOS software. So that just gives us the ability of doing all of that.
Question to kind of follow up. You mentioned cameras. Are you able to pull in, we have how many detectors represented in this room? Are you able to pull in manufacturers like Grid Smart, Vision, all those different cameras, those RTSP streams in advance?
Yes.
Badass. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We use that word a lot this week, guys.
So that's been, I think one of the hardest things is, what we've done is we very much independent of the traffic controllers and independent of the cameras. We don't, play in that world ever. So we're very much Switzerland in that side. So we have got equipment from all of them in our lab, and we've got to work with all their software updates and things like that. So the testing is quite substantial, and there are some new features we're working on for the way some of them stream video, that we can restream it in a different way. So there's a whole slew of background things happening at the same time. Yes, sir.
So if I've already got a central system, I've already got communications, what's this get me over what my central system can already give me? I mean, I can look at preemption, I can look at my video, I can look at my controllers, I can look at the monitors. Sell me.
So what we're doing is we are utilizing and showcasing over multiple different platforms. So for instance, a lot of cities like DOT here has got 4 or 5 different traffic signal controllers running in the state. This is working with all of them, gives an overview of everything. When you want to access ATMS.now or whatever, you can access it straight through here. So when you click on the intersection, it'll do that. What we're trying to do is take it to a higher level. We're not trying to look into the details of the timing and all the rest, the way that you would with and doing controller uploads and downloads and all of the different things there. We're looking at basics, like, is the power working? Because on the current ATMS, when there's a power failure or communications failure or a controller failure, it all looks the same. So when you actually log in and it says comms failure, is that a crisis? Is it a power failure and you need to call the utility company? Or is it a controller failure, which is also very important? Now I've got to send someone down there to fix it. Or is it just the network switch isn't working, the controller is working just fine? So knowing the difference, the nuance between those 3 different events means that you know what to do at those situations. What we're also doing is we're integrating to all the different video detection, battery backups, all of the different equipment in the cabinet. So we're looking at the cabinet as a whole, not just the controller side. So that's kind of our portion of this, is we're looking at that. And then what we do on the other side of this is we're also broadcasting all of that information out to connected vehicles as well. So Karen will be talking about in a second the TravelSafely app, how we integrate with Waze, how we integrate with Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram. So now all of a sudden, if you're driving and there's a dark signal ahead, Waze will redirect you around that signal, because now it knows that there's a dark signal ahead because of a failure, or the signal's in flash. So it'll actually pop up that there's a signal fault ahead of you, and it'll redirect you around there. So the whole idea behind this is to take all this data that we're collecting from all of these different sources, and then not just provide it to the technician who's then going to access remote front panel, so on, but it can also then feed into the cars that are coming out, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram. We've now got VW as well. Mercedes is starting to come into that. So it's starting to get that we can actually put information in the dashboard of the vehicles. And that's going to be the exciting part of where all of this connected vehicle information is coming. And obviously, DOT is probably one of the leaders in the United States in terms of actual percentage of signals that are online. So some of the safety benefits that you can do from that, such as red light running, school zone alerts, all of these things. So there's a lot of information available there that we're trying to basically connect up multiple different people and not just have a silo. So you can have ATMS.now running here, you can have Tactics running in this, and you can have Centrax. So you can access any one of them depending on what you're accessing. In the back there?
Do you mind if I just state one case use for what your product does? So it's very simple, very basic, but as technicians, you know you've gone to cabinets and you can't figure out why there's a flash event, right? You go out there, you press the reset button, everything's fine. So we had a situation last fall in a community in Maine where there were multiple flash events. So rather than going out to the cabinet to bang our head against the cabinet wall, like was done in the past, did a very simple, quick report on MaineLINK that correlated the flash event with a power failure. So the problem wasn't in the cabinet, it was with the utility company. And it didn't spend hours trying to diagnose a problem that wasn't existing in the cabinet. So just that one application saved quite a bit of time and labor and exposed an issue with power quality. So it's very powerful. And even though voltage levels might seem like a very basic rudimentary thing, it literally saved thousands of dollars.
We had one in Colorado, which was quite funny. We put a new traffic cabinet in, and the cabinet kept on going to flash at about 7 a.m. in the morning. And then by the time we went out there with all the crews to go look at it and go see what happened, it would be out of flash. Wow, what is going on? The units over here also look at the temperature and humidity in the cabinet. And what we found was the cabinet got installed on top of irrigation line. And the irrigation system was going on in the morning. And there was water piling up in the bottom of the cabinet, causing a short. The cabinet went into flash. And then by the time all the crews got out there, the irrigation system had cut off and the water had gone down and everything worked again. But we had a look and we found out that the humidity went up to 100% in the cabinets. And that's how we actually figured out that there was actually water coming into the bottom of the cabinet. But I mean, there's obviously thousands of different use cases and things like that. But it's just about visualizing the data often. And that's why we work hand in hand with Econlight and Trafficware and all of the different controller manufacturers and do the integration with them. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Does this system pull in turn count information that's pulled from the camera system too?
Not yet, shall we say. So that's something that's going to be coming out this year, that we'll grab information from the cameras and start visualizing some of that information. We're starting off with, I think there's a project that we've got done in Texas. It's, is it Autoscope, ISS Autoscope and Curix, and then we're moving over to the various different types of the camera manufacturers. They're all very different. So on the camera side, it's not as simple as the traffic controller side with everything being exactly NTCIP objects and so on. All right, I'm on my time, so yes.
Before the session started, Brooke came up to me and said, "Don't forget to tell people this," and I forgot. So now that it's back in my mind again, for the afternoon sessions, a lot of them are up here, but they're in the other corridor. If you go down to the end here, there's a set of doors. Those doors are locked. You can't go that way. But about halfway down the corridor, there's a door on the left, and that leads you over to the other wing. So you'll be able to find that. Also, this is a green school. So I don't know if you looked downstairs when you were eating today, but there are a set of buckets down there, all table scrap of your plates would go in those buckets. And then there's a little chart on the wall showing different things. That'll tell you what's trash and what's recyclable. So if you could follow that, the school would be very happy. So there, I think I've covered everything you asked me to say, Brooke.
I think so.
All right.
And I've also forgotten, so.
I think that wants to. Just go to.
Oh, and there are 6 more chairs over in this area if you guys over there
Yeah.
want places to sit. So,
Alrighty. Can you guys hear me? Alrighty. So my relationship with Peter is kind of like Steve's relationship with Brooke, where Peter does more of the talking. I would prefer being more behind the scenes, but here we are. So first off, I want to start by asking the question of how many of you guys are familiar with TravelSafely? Awesome. Okay. How many of you are familiar with connected vehicle applications and all of the PC5, 5.9 gigahertz communication, C-V2X network? Show of hands. Okay, a smaller group. Alrighty. So, for those of you who don't know what TravelSafely is a free smartphone application that was developed by Applied Information. And it functions as the human-machine interface for connected vehicle messaging. So providing you information from the traffic infrastructure right to your smartphone, like you use something like Google Maps or Waze or Apple Maps. So providing an additional layer of insight on what's happening with the traffic infrastructure. It connects everyday road users to the traffic infrastructure, so providing additional insights on what's happening with the signal phase and timing. Providing information on real-time alerts, like sharing that you might be running a red light. So approaching the intersection, driving a little bit too fast, it provides you an audible and a visual warning, letting you know that there's a possibility of running a red light. So really just enhancing the situational awareness and safety through visual and audible alerts. We love to use TravelSafely as a technology demonstrator. So we know not everyone's going to be able to have access to the TravelSafely app because, of course, you need Applied Information's infrastructure in your traffic technology systems. But we like to showcase what we can do with TravelSafely, providing additional information on what we can do with day one applications for connected vehicle technology. Oftentimes we think of connected vehicles being this complicated, complex solution to transportation infrastructure, trying to push out messages that not everyone needs to know, or it's almost a futuristic thing that we don't see as a tangible benefit right now. But TravelSafely really provides that information to you, direct to you in your vehicle, however you want to operate it, whether it's with new technology applications with connected vehicles like PC5, 5.9 gigahertz, or just via the cellular network. So providing you that information just with your normal TravelSafely app on your smartphone. We're able to provide the messages in standard J2735 messages, where we can share signal phase and timing, map information, basic safety messages, personal safety messages, and traveler information messages. Here you can see an overview of all of the traffic infrastructure that's already outfitted with TravelSafely. So a lot of devices throughout the United States that are already able to push out this information, providing that additional layer of safety for motorists. Like I was saying earlier, we're able to provide the information on the signal phase and timing, providing alerts for if you're possibly going to be running a red light, as well as giving you information to get ready for green. So giving you that advanced piece of information saying, the light's about to change to green, get ready, let's keep the traffic moving. We have a number of applications that are available with the TravelSafely application. Obviously, depending on what's needed in a city or what kind of infrastructure you're wanting to connect. But examples are providing information on where an emergency vehicle is coming from. We don't always hear what direction it's coming from, so giving you additional insight into the fact that an emergency vehicle is approaching from behind or approaching in front, so you know what to do in advance of that emergency vehicle approaching. I've got a video here which is going to showcase some additional visuals on what we can do with the TravelSafely application. So we did a really great technology demonstration in Texas, Houston last year, where we were able to provide information on a work zone ahead, providing that direct in-vehicle alert, notifying people to slow down and make sure that there's an additional layer of safety within a work zone.
I'm gonna pause that so you can explain a little bit more. That's a vehicle unit that goes into a work zone vehicle, and you can see that that was maintenance vehicle that they had there. It didn't just send it out of the TravelSafely app, it sent it out to Waze, so anyone using the Waze app would get a roadwork alert. Anyone that's using Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram vehicles, we get an alert in their vehicle that there's a service vehicle parked ahead, and obviously the TravelSafely app. So the idea is, you know, there's a lot of times that people are working on signals and so on, and people don't even know that you're there. And this is that area that you can actually put in a device that actually pop up and provide an additional layer of safety. It's not going to get to everyone, but there are roughly, I think it's about 40 million people using the Waze app right now. And Google is pretty much everyone. What Google's doing now is grabbing the data directly from Waze. So we're seeing a lot of those alerts going straight into Google Maps as well. So you're getting a large portion of the people to try to put this in. And the way that it worked is as soon as he put his parking brake on with these emergency lights on, then he started to broadcast that message. So, you know, that area became a safety zone then for that maintenance vehicle.
Thank you.
Let me press play for you.
Okay. Awesome. So some additional applications that we were able to showcase was pedestrian safety alert. So if there's a pedestrian that's crossing at a pedestrian crossing, it's able to broadcast that additional information to the vehicles, notifying them of an active crossing. Like I showed on the screen earlier, providing additional insight in the vehicle on the possibility of running a red light, or just providing additional information on the traffic signal timing ahead. Really important application is school zone safety alerts, notifying motorists when school zones have students arriving or departing from school. So really adding that additional layer of safety specifically for students in those school zone areas. Another application that we worked on was school bus safety, so providing alerts when the school bus stop arm is out, making sure that vehicles know to stop and make sure that the students are able to board or disembark the school bus safely.
And you can see how that's on the dashboard in the vehicle. So this is where the technology is going. It's, you know, we've done the TravelSafely app, which is, as Karen said, that's a technology demonstrator. The ultimate goal is to have it inside of all these vehicles. But the vehicle manufacturers don't actually understand it. You know, when we sat down with Google and Apple and these companies, they don't even understand what this is. You know, that and when Ford came over to the facility, the first time they saw inside of a traffic cabinet, you know, that big silver box in the side of the road? No. Looks like a refrigerator? No, we don't know about it. They don't even know that there's a traffic signal cabinet, you know, the car manufacturers. So a lot of this is an education we've got to do with them.
Alrighty, so as Peter mentioned, we're wanting to try and push this message out to as many people as possible. So we've been investigating ways that we can promote the messaging towards more drivers and creating a more inclusive network beyond just the TravelSafely app. I know personally, I don't enjoy using multiple apps all the time. I want to be able to have it in my car, easily accessible. So we're really trying to push to be able to communicate these messages to more than just people operating with the TravelSafely app. As Peter mentioned, we have integrated into Waze, so providing additional information through the Waze app if you're just using it as your navigation app. Again, the additional layer of safety. Some other projects that we've been working on is integrating with the Metropia app in Texas. So being able to feed our source code into additional apps to be able to promote that message further. A little bit of behind the scenes and kind of under the hood, the TravelSafely app has some additional insights to, I guess, us in the room, where the normal general public wouldn't understand this or know what to do with this. Even I struggle. So what we have is the ability to see a SPaT grid, which provides real-time information on the signal phase and timing of the connected intersection. And this is really what feeds into what Peter was showing earlier, where you have the real-time information on what's happening at the traffic intersection. I've got a little video here where you can see the information on the phase indications, if there's overlap indication, the time of overlap, and pedestrian indication. So it just gives you additional insight into what's happening at a particular signal. This includes the phase number, the phase indication, which includes what the current signal phase color is, and it gives you easier verification of the active phase. We have the phase time with the minimum time left before the phase changes, which provides additional insight for the fine-tuning of your signals. So really feeding into what Peter was saying earlier, where you're just getting that additional information to make sure that your signals are operating as efficiently as possible. It's also got overlap indication showing if there's signal overlap and the minimum time remaining for the overlap duration. Lastly, we've got the pedestrian indication and time, which shows the pedestrian signal state and the time remaining before the indication changes. And it verifies pedestrian clearance intervals and phase coordination. Again, just behind the scenes, under the hood, into how your traffic signals are operating. And you can see this for each of your connected intersections. Beyond this, what's next for TravelSafely? We're wanting to push it out to more apps. So we're working on having a map interface where you can see additional insights and alerts through a mapping interface, which is going to enable us to push this out through Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Alrighty, I know I've done a lot of speaking.
The one thing is what Karen was showing beforehand, the signal status. The reason we did that actually was because there were a number of technicians that wanted to be able to see exactly what was going on with which phase was active. So you can just, take your phone out and you can open up the TravelSafely app and hit grid view. And then wherever you're standing around the signal, you can see what phases are active. And the time that it takes to go from the device to your smartphone and all the rest is about a quarter of a second. So it's pretty real time when you're looking at it there. So it's one of those things that we found out that a lot of technicians wanted, and that's why we created it. Actually, one of our technicians said, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do this? And then obviously everybody else said, hey, how do I get access to that? So there's a special username and password. If you want access to that, come talk to us. We'll give you access to that, and you can then, as a technician, you can actually see the details of what's going on while you're standing at the traffic signal.
Any questions from anyone? I know that was quite a bit of information overload. Yes?
I just have a question on the pedestrian.
Yes.
It looked like they were pressing an RRFB, so
Yes.
it's connected to the signal itself.
It's connected to the RRFB. We can do it at traffic intersections, so if there's a pedestrian crossing at a traffic intersection or at a RRFB. So once that button is pushed and the lights are activated, it pushes out that alert to approaching motorists.
It's a small little unit that goes into the pedestrian crosswalk up into the sign or wherever the cabinet is.
Yes, hi.
So actually, you answered some of my questions with this, because, I mean, Maine, our vehicle fleet's old. So when do you think, I mean, I drive a 2016, so I don't have any of these features.
Oh, don't worry, me neither.
Right. So I guess I like a lot of this stuff. I like the idea, especially like the school bus stuff, the school zone stuff.
Yes.
So when do you foresee having the Android Auto implementation? And B, how much of, because at some point it just becomes information overload.
Absolutely.
Like, how much are you going to winnow out of this as to what you feed into, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Waze, that sort of?
Absolutely, that's a really good question. So we understand that information overload, it becomes almost null and void. If you're getting too many alerts too many times a day, you kind of just ignore it. We do it all the time. So what we've done is we have different settings for example, the red light running. Some people are more aggressive drivers, so you're going to get the alert all the time. So you can change the setting to be, I don't remember what the name for it is, but you can change it to a different setting where if you're an assertive driver, you get less alerts because it knows that you're just more of an assertive driver. And then some other things that we do is if you're approaching a school zone, for example, it might just pop up saying school zone, where you won't see that on your app. But if you're speeding in the school zone, it provides you that visual and audible alert, notifying you that you need to slow down, students are present. Does that kind of answer your question?
And
It answers the second part. The first
Okay.
part was.
Oh, yes.
it's interesting. So we don't know exactly when it's going to be in all of these vehicles. Well,
I
we've...
meant the.
Android
this,
Auto.
the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, that'll be out in the next 3 to 6 months from our side. We always look at this, and a lot of it is, how do I get this information directly in Google? So when you use Google Maps, and that's our ultimate goal. In other words, we're in conversations with those folks, but they don't do real-time mapping yet. So their information is only about 30 seconds from live. So there's a lot of things that we've got to educate these people on. So, getting it into the cars, getting it into all these places, it's being part of all these different car organizations and so on. And it's like taking us into a whole another realm. And some of the cars are going to be bringing out the CV2X direct radios. So that's going to be, they're bringing out a chipset that goes into the vehicles, and it'll be able to talk directly to the traffic signals and school zones, like Audi's doing that. And some of them, like Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, they don't have plans to do that yet, but they're doing everything with cellular. And the other thing is, we can't force them to do any kind of alert that they don't want to do. So a lot of it's this education of like, well, is a school bus alert, do they think the general public is going to like that alert enough that they're going to spend the time and effort creating the application on their vehicle? So there's this whole sort of circular thing going on in terms of what should they develop, what shouldn't they develop in their cars. And we can't really force them to do anything on that side. Same thing with alerts. Like there aren't any audible alerts in the Audi, but they have a sound studio on what type of beep or bop to provide a user so that they know what to do, and then the visual indication comes up on the dash.
I got to stop you on this.
Yeah.
I looked at a 2025 this year truck. I was all ready to buy it until I drove it. And I said, can you turn off all of the crap that's in this vehicle? Because to me, it's unsafe.
Yes.
I mean, I've got heads-up display, I've got things buzzing, and I'm like, no way. I walked away, and I'm having my 2016 F-250 diesel body-off restoration because I love that truck, and I wouldn't buy a new one because it's got all that crap in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
It's distracting.
granted, I'm an old fart, and I don't like all that new stuff, but I got to think that there's some people in here that are like, I don't want all that distraction.
You're 100% right. We did a whole study with the University of Florida, and we said what they did was they took connected vehicles, and they wanted to know, how do humans react to audible alerts versus visual alerts, or both? And the study came back that on the connected vehicle applications, audible alerts were by far the best alerts, because the eyes kept on the roadway. So they had eye tracking glasses. So that's why 93% of people that use TravelSafely run it in the background. They're running a different app in the front ground and they're just getting an audible alert. And that's actually my preference. The one application that I've stayed away for so long and people are trying to make us do this is, it's called Glosa. It's like a green speed optimization. So what happens is they did the study on that and they looked at it and they said, all right, drive at 25 miles an hour and then 23 and then 22 and you're going to get the next green light. And what happened was everybody's eyes went to the mobile phone and went to their speed, and the mobile phone, no one looked at the roadway. And that's what we want to avoid. So kind of 100% agree, we've got to be very careful. That question you asked is so important because distracted driving, we don't want to add to that. So that's why our app is 100% audible first.
I was
Yes.
just going to point out, on the TravelSafely app, I want to say there's like 20 to 25 alerts that you can turn on or off for audio, and the audio part of it is to me, the preferred part. When I am using it, knowing that the light's going to turn green in a few seconds is nice. If you're approaching a signal too quickly and it says, red light ahead, yeah, the audio, I think, is much better than the visual.
And the big thing as well is what we found out from the car manufacturers is traffic signals are very difficult for them. School zones, school buses, pedestrian crosswalks is a much easier alert. So that's why there's those are the places that we're getting a lot of the development we did with Audi was on school buses and school zones because they found that was a very easy alert. Now they do traffic signals as well, but that's another area. It's a very simple alert. It's either on or off. You don't have to think about what is an overlap. Because you can imagine a car manufacturer and you start talking about overlaps and they go, overlap A, overlap D. So yeah, it gets complicated. All right, I think we've gone over.
We've gone way over.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Sorry, Brooke, for going over. Peter and I are going to have an afternoon session available, so if you have any additional questions, please come over and see us.
Yeah.